back in, and here we are today on Focus Forward. I have an absolutely phenomenal guest. I am so excited to be introducing you to her today. But before we start, I just want to talk just a tiny bit about this book, Lean In. Everyone is talking about it. This is a phenomenal book by Sheryl Sandberg. And the bottom line on this is we have an opportunity as women to take our rightful place in the world and take a little bit more control. Not that we don't want to control it all, but we do want to control some of it. And in reality, what's gone on and continues to go on is women are taking a backseat in business and in life. So really, if you're interested in getting control of your career, please pick up this book. It's phenomenal. So today, I am so excited to be here with a very good friend of mine and wonderful entrepreneur, Yudi Cid. She is director and CEO and founder of Vida in Alto, which is a company that specifically helps multi-ethnic people that are in cities, predominantly, have better marriages and better lives. So Yudi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor that you invite me and that I can share with your viewers a time of inspiration and also information that may be very helpful for your viewers. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's so good for you to be here today. So I want to jump right in, okay? What I want to do is, first of all, I know that you've been working with many, many, many couples, predominantly in New York City, helping them to have better marriages. I know that you have over 2,500 couples that you've worked with, yes. Predominantly in, I know, Upper Manhattan and in the Bronx and Queens and the boroughs. And predominantly these people that you work with generally tend to be what we would consider lower income people?
Lower income people, Latino family, the working class, okay. Predominantly, yes.
Okay, and they're immigrants?
An immigrant, yes, most of them, although, yes, we still service some other communities, but primarily it's Latino community, yes.
So these people really have challenges. So tell us a little bit about the challenges that they have.
We call them stressors, really, that, and what we teach couples is that oftentimes about 70% of the issues that they have, it's actually outside stressors, especially in the urban city. If we take a look at couples who are in a more suburban setting, their situation, their dynamic is completely different. And so it's good for couples who to understand that where the issues come from, first of all, because that just set them up in a better position to then be able to work through their issues. And so in the urban setting, we have issues such as, let's say, for example, parking. Yes, so there you go. So it's that in itself. It's a conversation, an everyday conversation, or it could be turned on into an argument if couples don't understand what are the dynamics, what are the outside stresses that they can face as a couple in the urban setting.
So they have stressors that are outside stressors: parking, money, issues with children, lots of. Could be lots of challenges in their child rearing as well, because of being in an inner city environment.
Inner city environment, like no good schools, like the good school is a big issue. And so if for some reason they happen to be in a neighborhood who doesn't have a supportive school, then that becomes a big stressor for the family, because now they have the challenges of like the children who they're playing with, the activity, no good education, and now it's an added challenge. And that doesn't mean that they don't love each other or that their marriage is in trouble. It's just things that are outside of their control. So it's very important for couples to understand what are the things that are outside of their control, so that they can, from that strength, and say, okay, so these are the things that we have that are working for us, that are the positive things that are working and from there say, okay, so what are the things that we need to begin to work on a little more? Because sometimes when a couple argue, they think everything is over, the world is ending, it's a mess. It's not a mess, it's one issue, and we can work at one issue at a time from a position of what are the areas in our marriage that are strong? What are the areas in our marriage that are working for us?
Okay, so I love this. Okay, because what I'm hearing is you focus on the good, and through that you start to then take one issue and work through that issue at a time. So now I have to ask you, What about entrepreneurs? Because this show predominantly helps entrepreneurs to raise the level of their business, to become more successful, to increase their revenue, decrease expenses, all of that. So what I notice often when I work with clients is the spouse might not be as gung-ho about the entrepreneur's business as the entrepreneur is. Sometimes they feel like they take a back seat. Sometimes they feel like all the extra money goes to the business. Sometimes they feel like they don't have any time with the entrepreneur. So what advice might you be able to give entrepreneurs about their marriages?
Thank you, Lori. This is such an important topic, and these shows are important because there's not a lot of platform where we can talk about that dynamic, and it's very important because the entrepreneur community is growing, especially also among Latinos too. Like we're big into, like we're the owners of bodegas, we are the owners of the different little shops, and so there's a very specific dynamics that happens when one of the partners is into their own businesses, have their own business, because as you know, most entrepreneurs have different hours and they have to, yes, that's what the challenge is. They work, on their own. And sometimes if you don't have skills to manage time and manage your relationship, it can get really messy and troublesome. But it doesn't have to, because just as you plan your business, just as you plan how you want to grow, the time that you need to invest, and the things that you need to do, this first and the second thing first, you also have to plan that within your marriage as well.
Okay, so plan your marriage the way you plan your business?
Not just the marriage, but planning the dynamics of how it is going to be, because the expectations are different. For an entrepreneur, it might not work, the dynamic of, okay, I'm waiting for my husband or for my wife, for my spouse to be there at 6 for dinner. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work. The schedule and the schedule and the dynamics of the family for an entrepreneur is completely different. And so the couple needs to sit down and redefine what would be the things and the items and how they're going to work it out. What are the things that are going to be happening? Okay, so if my business doesn't allow me to be home at 6 for dinner, how can we still make that happen, that time together, that family time together? And so basically what entrepreneurial family has to do is redefine their own dynamics around the schedule that would work for them, not the traditional schedule.
So what ideas do you have? Because as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, okay, I'm single. If I had a spouse, if I had a young child, I could not work the amount of hours I work. And my thing is, if I wasn't working those hours, would I be able to be as productive? So my question is, give us an idea about what some of those things are that people could look at. Maybe there could be like compromises or points that they might focus on instead of being home at 6 o'clock for dinner.
Yes.
So what are other things?
First is the mindset. See the family as a team. It's not just about your business, but how does that business actually contribute to the benefit and the well-being and the health of the family system as a whole? So think of it, we are a team, because oftentimes what happens is that, especially us entrepreneurs, we get so excited and passionate about our business that it's just so easy to continue to work an extra hour or two, or continue to work through the night and things like that. And so if you don't have a mindset of a teamwork where your spouse is aware that, okay, although right now my husband or my wife is paying attention to the business, this is going to benefit me at the end. Like, make it a part that they feel that it's not the business, but it's our business, and how eventually, as this business grows, we also growing together as a family. So it's very important, because one of the things that happens too in the family dynamics is the competition. Oh, you don't want to make your husband or your wife feel that you're moving forward and they're staying behind, because that's when emotionally things happens, and instead of being in a cooperative spirit, in a cooperative role, they begin to be in a opposing role, and then instead of being a help, you become a roadblock.
So what happens? What do you do in that? You're working with couples. I'm sure a lot of couples that you work with have these issues. You know, when I'm hearing about this, I can think of 4 or 5 people right now that I work with that are in that situation where the spouse feels like, I just spend all my time supporting this other person, supporting the entrepreneur, and they don't show up. We can't go on vacation. We can't do this. We can't do that because the business is like the worst mistress.
Yes.
Okay, it's like the worst mistress. So in reality, how do we still feed our partner?
Okay.
And run our business successfully?
All right. Just as you need time management skills to run a successful business, you have to transfer those skills into your relationship as well and schedule everything that you want to make happen. For example, I tell a lot of couples, you have to schedule a date for you and your husband to have intimacy. You have to schedule it because if you don't, then there's always something to do. There's always something that distracts. There's always something to do. If you don't schedule that time, sometimes it doesn't happen. And then the biggest complaint I get from couples is that they're not having that intimacy. And there's a correlation into the more intimacy and sex that you have with your partner, the less stress, the less trouble, the less problems you have. So if you want to decrease the arguments, if you want to decrease those bad habits of communication, yelling, screaming, and those tensions, increase the sex life, increase the intimacy time. And so schedule it. You have to schedule it because you know, as an entrepreneur, we call in all the time. They call us. They always, there's so much demand. Mm-hmm. And it's true that what you said about being a mistress because you just get so excited. Mm-hmm. I know I do that. Like I get so excited. Oh my God, look at this new contract. Look at this new client I'm getting. And if you don't have that time, that sacred time, that this is the time to be with my husband, with my time, and with the children, it sometimes just don't happen. And so little by little, the family gets left behind.
So question, what about turning off the phone or turning off the computer?
That's a good one too. Yes, and so not just that schedule of that one time, but also on a daily basis, develop rituals, healthy family rituals of these are the times where we are together and we turn off all distractions, and this is the quality time that we have to talk, to listen to each other, and just to be in the presence of each other. That's very helpful because what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs is that, especially when they're beginning, that they fall in love with their business and then they begin to have problems with the family. And then they don't know it yet, but what happens is that if you don't have a good, healthy family structure, that's gonna affect your business anyway.
Absolutely.
In a direct way, because you cannot, it's, your level of concentration, your stamina, your own personal mental health. You may not project the same things, like if you just finish having a big argument, with your wife or your husband, and now you have to meet this big client, your level of concentration and focus and just your overall presentation about yourself might be compromised.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when we look at that, I hear what you're saying. I hear it. It sounds really good. How does one do that? How would you do that?
It happens just as it starts, like I said, first of all, understanding, okay, this is what happens also. A lot of people have the mindset that it's either one thing or another. Like, okay, push this back, it's either a business or my family. And it doesn't have to be that way. If you have your mind open to say, how can I work it out both together? I want both. I want to have a healthy family while I'm growing my business. And then from that standpoint, you begin to learn the skills. And that's what we teach in relationship education. This is what we teach about those skills, like time management. That's very important, how you manage time, and also communication. Be more effective. You don't have time for an argument. Yes. So how do you avoid them? You don't have time for chaos. You don't have time for drama in your family. So how do you avoid it? Having good communication. habits of communication, talking about the issues, being assertive, saying what you need, this is what you need, and a lot of, like they say, love, it's just really help all around, but besides love, you also need the precise strategy and way to just talk to your wife that she would understand, talk to your husband, that they would understand that they're not being left behind, but that they're a part of the team.
Okay, so when is the best time to have these type of conversations?
All right, we often teach in relationship education that it's like a 3-step process. First of all, definitely it starts with picking the right time, because sometimes if we're tired or not just emotionally available overall, that's not the best time to bring up the issues. Right? So it's good to ask the husband of the wife, okay, when can we talk about this? Don't just bring it up like on their way to work or, in the middle of, the wife is cooking or the children are doing their homework. Pick a time. And after you pick a time, talk to your husband and your wife about how do you feel. Make the feeling connection. Because sometimes it's not just the issue, but it's what's behind it. Like, what is the emotion that's causing you to think that way? For example, if the wife complains, because this is a typical example, if the wife complains about not enough time, this comes up all the time, don't just say to your husband, you're not spending enough time with me. Say, I feel left behind. How do you feel? Because you would find that your husband do not want you to feel left behind. So oftentimes he doesn't know that that's how you're feeling. But if you come up straight out and just say, oh, I want you to spend more time with me, he would say, but I am. In his mindset, he think he is, because he's around and whatever. Even if he's just watching TV and you have not talked to him for a while, in his mind, he's spending time, he's there. But you feel disconnected. So you need to let him know how you feel so that that connection and that understanding can be there. It's very important in communication. Don't just say what you want. You have to let your partner know how does it makes you feel.
Okay, so the first thing you do is you're opening up the line of communication by asking specifically, how do you feel? What's the second step?
And then an action. You have to ask for an action. Oftentimes, we say, but I told you I'm communicating, but all you're doing is really complaining or criticizing. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, you complain and criticize. You're not asking for an action, especially the way men communicate. There's differences in how women and men, there's so many books and has been written about that. And we need to understand that there's differences between how women communicate and men communicate. And so men need specific instructions. How to. Don't just complain about, oh, well, we're not spending enough time. Say, I would like for us to spend more time together. Let's say Saturday, how about Saturday evening? Can you schedule a time where, let's say Sunday nights, it's for us? They love to hear that. And sometimes
because it's specific.
It's specific. Ask for an action. It's so important in communication. Don't just complain. Complaining is not solving anything.
Right.
What do you want? And that helps you, because in women, we need to know before coming in the conversation, what do you really want? Be clear about that and ask for it. Because we complain for things that they don't even know they're doing wrong, and complaining doesn't solve the problem. It's an action that solves the problem. So ask for what you want. That's assertive communication.
I love that. That's really great. So you really figure out what you want. You open up the line of communication in a way that's not combative, and then what you do is you create an action that you're going to do, an action plan.
An action plan.
Can you give me this?
And then after the action plan, for example, if you're asking, let me give another example about in this case, let's say the husband is asking more help from the wife. All right. So, and then you agree, okay, you know what? Yes, I'm going to do the dishes every night. And if it doesn't work out, don't say, oh, see, you said you were going to do something, and now you're not doing the dishes every night. Ask, okay, how can we make this work? Motivated any agreement that you do with your partner, if it doesn't work out, don't give up and say, oh, but we already did that. We said we were going to do something, and then he doesn't do it, then she doesn't do it. No, modify. Say, what happened? How can we modify this? And be open to make changes. It's okay to be flexible. If it didn't work out that you say you were going to do the dishes and now you can, find another plan. Maybe buy a dishwasher. Maybe pay somebody. Figure it out until something works out, and stick with what works. Don't just give up on your marriage because he said he was going to do something and he's not doing it. Be open, be flexible, and open to find other solutions. It didn't work out. He said he's going to do it at night. He's not doing it. What can we do next? Can we hire somebody? Can we use plastic plates? Can we get a dishwasher? Can we do the dishes the next day in the morning? Can we teach the children to do the dishes? Don't be stuck in one idea. Be open and flexible.
Well, I think that that's brilliant advice, because what I see a lot of times is people that they say that they're not happy about something, but they don't really know what's going to make them happy. And then what ends up happening is when they do have like a specific thing, like a specific action, like the dishes, they don't do the dishes, the other person thinks it's everything that they don't do for me. They don't do anything for me. So it's all or nothing.
Or nothing.
And that's what I think is a really big issue, especially for the spouses of entrepreneurs, because they see all of that energy keep going into the business. They feel like they don't have any energy themselves coming into them.
Okay.
And then they feel abandoned by the partner.
Also, something that would help your viewers in terms of how can they manage their relationship and their business, it's look at their relationship in terms of stages and seeing that this business is the stage of cooperation. This is what we need right now to cooperate. There's different stages in marriage. There was the passion stage where you were madly in love and you wanted to be with your significant other all the time and maybe have sex all the time. I mean, you couldn't get your mind off him, of her. And so that was a passion stage. Then there's different stages, but one stage, look at the marriage now that you're building this business together as a stage. Because oftentimes in business, when they succeed, things get easier. So maybe it's a stage where we need your collaboration, where we need you to step up, where I need your help more than ever. It's your time to now chip in and do most of the things on the house. But it's a stage, it's gonna pass. After that, we'll make, within the business plan, we have a plan where I would have more time, or the business is gonna grow and we can hire more help. So look at it that way too. Don't think of it, oh, now that the business came into our life, this marriage is ruined. No, think of it as stages. How can we work it around, give it enough time to grow, and then decide, okay, what do we need, more help, more money, more time? Let's work toward those goals.
You know, one of the things that you say is, you know, when the business takes off, that things are easier. But, you know, I haven't really seen that.
Okay.
I think if couples could understand how to solve these problems earlier, when the business does take off, they would already have some of those actions in place that would support the growth of the business. Because what happens when your business really gets busy is you just keep focusing more and more and more. So that distance between you and your spouse gets wider. In reality, I think if you started early in the business and you really focused on having that balance, when your business took off, you would already have that as a precedent in your marriage.
You're right, Laurie. But I'm talking specifically at those times where you just want to give up. Specifically at the time where it's so crazy, and many times, oftentimes in business, we don't have much of control what's going to happen. We plan things one way, they go another way. That's the art and the fun sometimes about being an entrepreneur. So for those times, look at it from that way. We are cooperating. This too shall pass. This is where we're going, and focus on we're a team. It's just really how you think about it, and then the right tools, skills will come to say, okay, what do we need? More time? Let's talk about it. What do we need? More communication? Then let's do this.
Okay, so we have about 2 minutes. left to the show. I know it's gone so quickly. But what I want to do before we sign off is just give me 3 tips right now that any entrepreneur can use immediately to help their marriage.
Okay, tip number 1, because I know entrepreneurs are pressed with time, and sometimes there's not enough time to have that lengthy conversation and that deep-rooted conversation. What I would say is give a hug, and silence hug.
Okay, a hug. 1.
A hug.
2.
Number 2, also, when there is that pressing issue that you need to bring up to your partner and you're in the middle of a chaos, always, it's called gentle startup. Start gentle, because if you start accusing, that's it, you lost the point.
Okay, what's number 3?
And number 3 is the mic. I tell them when you need to negotiate time or whatever it is going your way, think of it as a mic. Speak one at a time so that you can listen to each other and focus on a solution, not on what you're doing wrong and what I'm doing wrong. But the mic help people listen to each other better.
Yudy, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. This has been awesome. It's been so much great information.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to share with your viewers.
Thank you. Thank you for this time. I'm Lori Flaquer of Soltar Solutions, here with another segment of Focus Forward. Thank you so much for tuning in.